Welcome to Timeless with Julie Hartman Live. It is Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. I'm Julie Hartman, and it is great, as always, to be with you. Now, I know that many of us are eagerly anticipating tonight's debate matchup between former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. And indeed, that will quite certainly be the sight to see. And you can count on our analysis tomorrow live here on Timeless at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern. But while our nation's eyes are very focused on this presidential matchup that we have coming up in 56 days, we mustn't forget that we are also voting for representatives and senators who will carry our interests in Congress. 468 seats in Congress are up for election this November. That's all 435 House seats, since representatives in the U.S. House of Representatives are elected every 2 years, in addition to 33 Senate seats. In my judgment, one of the most important congressional races up on the ballot this November is between my guest today and her opponent. I'm so pleased to welcome former Republican U.S. Representative Mayra Flores to Timeless. She's running against Democrat Representative Vicente Gonzalez to represent the 34th Congressional District of the state of Texas. And we have a map here so that you can have a visual of just how important this congressional district in particular is to our nation. We can see that it borders our border with Mexico. It includes the Rio Grande Valley, and it is east of McAllen, Texas, and it's south of Corpus Christi. And you can see that it is also right on the Gulf of Mexico. And Representative Mayra Flores actually represented this district for about 6 months back in 2022. In June of 2022, Representative Flores won in a special election to replace a Democrat who actually resigned from Congress in order to go into lobbying. Then that November of 2022, during the midterm elections, Representative Flores lost to her now opponent, Democrat Vicente Gonzalez. I have invited Representative Gonzalez onto Timeless. We have not yet heard back from him, but we would be thrilled to have him on, as we are thrilled now to welcome Representative Flores. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, you really have a remarkable story. You are the first Mexican-born woman elected to serve in Congress, which is really just amazing. I know that you were born in Mexico to migrants. You came over here to the United States when you were 6 years old. And according to your website, you got citizenship at 14. Is that correct?
Well, my father, I was able to get citizenship right away, even though I was born in Mexico. I was an American citizen. I was granted citizenship. I've always been a proud Mexican American.
Oh, there you are. I can hear you. It appears as though your Skype was cutting out. Please continue.
I'm sorry, we lost signal.
I'm hearing you now, thankfully. If you could continue, that would be great. If not, we can switch you very easily to the phone. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to switch Representative Flores to the phone, which is good because I want to go into some background about just how important this district is. We are all aware that we have a massive immigration crisis at our southern border. I want to read this to you. According to the House Committee on Homeland Security, quote, the Biden administration is now on track to hit 10 million encounters at America's borders nationwide well before the end of the fiscal year. That is absolutely unbelievable. And we know, according to other groups that are monitoring this and have special agencies or nonprofits which monitor immigration at the southern border, some are estimating that that number may be as high as 20 million. Now, another point of concern, which we'll be discussing with Representative Flores, is whether or not to count these individuals in the United States Census. Because on the one hand, they are in our nation and they need to be accounted for in the population, and especially for those politicians who are running to provide services and welfare programs to these individuals, it certainly matters to know how many of them there are so that those resources can be allocated. However, on the other hand, many are arguing that this may be a kind of vote buying scheme, that by counting illegal immigrants in the United States Census, it will then affect the seats that are allocated to various states in the Electoral College and in the U.S. House of Representatives. Because remember, we have the Senate and the U.S. House. The Senate has 100 representatives, 2 from each state. The House seats are allocated based on population. And recently, everyone should know about this, there was an amendment that was proposed by Senator Bill Hagerty from the state of Tennessee. He's a Republican. He proposed this amendment in the Senate, which would bar illegal immigrants from being counted in the United States Census. Every single Democrat in the Senate voted against that amendment. And now I understand that we have Representative Flores back on the line, on the phone. We're sorry to not be able to see you, but grateful to have you on. So, Representative,
Thank you.
Representative Flores, you were talking about your upbringing, which is such a compelling story and a part of your push to, in your words, preserve the American dream. Can you go on and tell us about your upbringing?
Look, I immigrated to this country. I support legal immigration. Our country needs immigration, but legal immigration, not illegal immigration. And what we are seeing right now is an administration that incentivizes illegal immigration, knowing how dangerous this journey is. I'm from the state of Tamaulipas, a very dangerous state, and it's very dangerous because of illegal immigration, because the Mexican cartel is now very powerful. They make about $13 billion a year, and now they're in full control of the southern border, and the people of Mexico are terrorized. A lot of Mexican Americans do not go to Mexico as often as they used to because they're afraid. So why would we want, when we're afraid, to come here to the United States? I'm forever grateful to my parents that they gave me the opportunity to come here to the United States. My dad is an American citizen, so I've always been an American, even though I was born in Mexico, because he's an American citizen. And both my parents were migrant workers. We moved a lot growing up. I know what it's like to work at a very young age. I was 14 years old working alongside my parents, but I'm forever grateful that they instilled in me not only faith in God, but strong family values, but also to work hard. And it's because of them and their work ethic and the conservative values that they instilled in me is that I was able to accomplish the American dream. A lot of people think that I accomplished the American dream when I became a member of Congress, and being a member of Congress is not the American dream. You know, I ran for Congress to protect the American dream, not to accomplish the American dream, because I had already accomplished the American dream before I ran for office. We're all the American dream, but unfortunately, the American dream right now is on a ventilator. It's dying, and I feel obligated to fight for the American dream because this country has given me so much. It's given my family so much, and I just felt that I couldn't just stand on the sidelines and watch the far left destroy this amazing country. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to run for office. I've never been in any political office or position. I'm a respiratory care practitioner. I've cared for children and the elderly. I have 4 amazing children. I have an amazing family, and that's what inspired me to run for office. And many said to me, you don't have the qualifications to run for office. But what I saw was that these people that are running for, that are representing us, that are leading our country, these are people that you call have qualifications, yet they're putting in place policies that are destroying our country. Maybe the problem is that we don't have people like us, the everyday American that understands the struggle, what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck, lead this country. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to run for office. I do have what it takes. We all have what it takes. They've made us believe that people like us cannot be in these positions, but I'm here to tell you that, yes, we can be in these positions. I proved it. I realized it within 24 hours. I was like, how did I get here? And then I was like, how did they get here? Right away, I realized that these positions are for people like us.
So, can you help me understand a bit more about how you came to the United States? You said that your father is an American citizen. And this is really important because one of the things that I've gathered that your opponent, who again I have invited onto the show, Representative Vicente Gonzalez of the Democratic Party, one of the things that he is arguing is that you, by running as a Republican, are undermining the system that you and your family benefited from. What is your response to him?
He doesn't know our culture. He thinks that because he goes on vacations to Mexico and Cabos and Puerto Vallarta, he thinks he knows Mexico and the culture. We're very conservative. Our values are all about faith, family. That is just who we are. It's in our DNA. And I'm not willing to put my values aside for a political party. So for me, it was an easy decision. I realized that the Republican Party aligned with my values, and that's the reason why I decided to run as a Republican, because of my values. He doesn't understand that because he has no values, right? He has no morals, no principles, so he doesn't really resonate with that. So I understand why he expresses that way, because he has no values, but I do, and it's been instilled in me since I was born. So for me, my values and how I was raised is very important, and not a political party. But I realized that the Republican Party is as close as you can be to what I stand for. Are we always going to agree on everything? No, but the main principles are there, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to run as a Republican. But I don't expect him to understand.
I do want to understand the mechanisms by which your family came to the United States, because, again, many people are saying that it is very important. I may fall into a different camp. I think that your own policy positions are what matters, and you were very young when you came to the United States. But nevertheless, because this is the reality of so many people who are seeking the American dream, can you just say more about that?
Absolutely. So my grandfather was actually born here in the United States. He was born here in South Texas. My grandfather, he fell in love with my grandmother in Mexico, and my grandmother did not want to move here to the United States. So they lived in Mexico, raised a beautiful family in Mexico. My dad was born in Mexico, but again, because my grandfather is from the United States, he was born here. All his children were also American citizens, right? And when they became of age, they came here to the United States and worked here practically all their life. And practically my dad repeated the same story. He fell in love with my mom. My mom is from Burgos, Tamaulipas, where I was born, and she also did not want to move to the United States. And so we were all born in Mexico, but my dad said when we became of age that we need to move to the United States. I want them to get an education in the United States. I felt to get an education in the United States, and I don't want, my daughters to repeat that where I didn't have the opportunity to get an education. I want to make sure that my daughters do have that opportunity to get an education. For him, it was very important. So when I was about 6-7 years old or so, we came here to the United States. But for us, it was different, right? The process was very different because, again, my dad is an American citizen, and I considered myself very blessed. And I want that journey and that experience that I had for every child. When you come here illegally, most children and women are abused through that dangerous journey. So we should never encourage illegal immigration because of how dangerous it is. We need to focus on legal immigration, improving the process so more amazing people that want to come here to this country can do it, but we want them to do it legally. No one talks about the people that are waiting in line right now to come here to the United States. It's a huge disrespect when you allow over 10 million people come here illegally, grant them some type of status while you have people waiting in line to come here to the United States that have been waiting for 5 years, for 10 years, for 15 years. I know someone who waited 20 years to come here to the United States. It's a huge disrespect, and I think that we need to incentivize legal immigration and not illegal immigration. I mean, this administration has spent $450 billion in housing and caring of illegal immigrants, and it's a huge disrespect to the American people that are living paycheck to paycheck right now, and that's why it's so important for us to put in the right policies at the border, but also economically as well, so we can get out of this crisis economically, and also this crisis at the border as well.
What would be your stance on deporting the 10 or even 20 million illegal immigrants that are now in this country?
Our top priority needs to be hiring more Border Patrol agents and more ICE agents to get the job done. So we need to prioritize deporting those that are here illegally in the country committing crimes. And we're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands, and I would say millions, right, of illegal immigrants with criminal records here in the United States that are committing serious crimes, that are also here depending on the government assistance. If you're here illegally in the country committing crimes, it should be a no-brainer. You should be deported immediately, because you don't represent those who come here to work hard, like myself, and those that actually followed the law and came here to the United States and are doing things the right way. Those people that are here illegally in the country committing crimes do not represent them. So it's important that we deport these people immediately. Unfortunately, my opponent, Vicente Gonzalez, voted against deporting those who are committing crimes in this country. And that shouldn't even be a political issue. That should be common sense. If these criminals should not be here, they should be immediately deported. We don't have the manpower to deport everyone. That's why it's important that we hire more ICE agents so we can get the job done. But we need to prioritize those that are here committing crimes. Child trafficking is a very it's a top issue here in this country. The United States is the number one in child trafficking. Mexico is the number one consumer. And a lot of the people that are involved in this are also Americans who need to be held accountable and put in prison for the rest of their life. But also you have people that are illegally in the country that are involved in child trafficking. They need to be held accountable. They need to be sent back or be put in prison for the rest of their lives as well. So we need to start enforcing the laws. We have plenty of laws. The problem is that they're not being enforced at the moment. And we need an administration at the White House. We need a Congress. We need to make sure that we keep the majority in the House of Representatives and that we have the majority in the Senate to be able to pass legislation that holds these type of people accountable.
Can you help us understand what the situation looks like on the ground in your congressional district? And just quickly, I want to pull up a photo of it again so that our viewers have a visual that your district is right on the border with Mexico, and it is right on the Gulf of Mexico. So help us understand what's going on there with regard to illegal immigration on a daily basis.
Well, most people that I speak with are concerned about the cost of living, the economy, and of course the border. They're very upset that this administration is prioritizing those that are crossing illegally and not them, because they're living paycheck to paycheck. They're not able to provide a better life to their children. They're not able to take that vacation that they were able to 4 years ago. We all had more money in our pockets 4 years ago under the President Trump, and we all have less money in our pockets right now. So they're feeling it. They're very frustrated. I see a lot of frustration. That's what I see every single day. Small business owners, a lot of frustration because, again, they feel that they're being treated like second class and that they're not being prioritized. They're like, what about us? ¿Y nosotros qué? What about our needs? Why are they prioritizing them? What about us? And they're right, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that elect them to be in that position. We as members of Congress or as representatives, we have an obligation to serve the people that elect us to be in that position. So it's a huge disrespect whenever they're prioritizing people that are not from here and not the American people. Mexico has an obligation to look after the Mexican people, right? Argentina has an obligation to look after the Argentinians, and so on. President of the United States has an obligation to look after the American people.
A final question before we move on in our short time together on immigration. You know, I had mentioned when we were getting you from from Skype back onto the phone, that there was a bill, an amendment actually, that was proposed in the Senate by your Republican colleague, Senator Bill Haggerty of the state of Tennessee. And he had proposed an amendment which would bar illegal immigrants from being counted in the U.S. Census. Now, as you know, every single Democrat in the Senate voted against that amendment. And many Democrats argue that they need to be counted in the census so that they can get welfare resources and other benefits that they need. What is your position on counting illegal immigrants in the census?
I think it's important that we know who's here and how many people are here. What I don't agree is that they should be counted when it comes to redistricting in the maps for members of Congress. Members of Congress should not be representing people that are illegally in the country. They should only be representing Americans. So when drawing these maps, they should only count those that are here legally, those who are here and are American citizens, not those that are here illegally in the country. Again, it's a huge disrespect, but that's what the Democrats want. That's why they're allowing millions and millions of people to come to this country, because we're going to be having a census in the next, few years. By 2030, we're going to be working on this census, and California has lost a lot of seats, has lost a lot of people. So they want these people to move there so they won't lose those seats.
Right.
Because every seat represents 700,000 people, not 700,000 Americans, just people. So as long as they have the people there, they're going to be able to keep their seats. That's what's important for them. And it shouldn't be that way. I do think that it's important that we know how many people live in our country. It's important. But when it comes to drawing these maps and representatives, no, you should only represent Americans. That is common sense. That's the way it's done in Mexico as well. Representatives in Mexico and in other countries only represent their citizens. You try doing what they're wanting to do here in other countries, and you would go to jail. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have people that are illegally in the country voting in this country. You try as an American going to Mexico and voting as an American, you will get arrested and you will go to jail.
Yep.
That's the law. Same thing. We don't disrespect other countries' laws. Don't disrespect ours.
It's hard to argue with that, though of course many do. Now, Representative Flores, of course, if you're elected to Congress this November, you will not only be representing Texas's 34th congressional district, but you will be representing the American people. And you vote on general issues pertaining to the American people. During your 6 months in Congress in 2022, you voted against the bipartisan Safer Communities Act. You voted against the Respect for Marriage Act. You voted against the Continuing Appropriations and Ukraine Supplemental Appropriations Act. And by the way, and our viewers know this, I mean, when people say
Communities Act, I'm sorry, I want to.
No, please go ahead.
The Safer Communities Act. I mean, it sounds so beautiful, right? And they named these bills something really nice.
Exactly.
Because most
yes.
Americans don't read the bills, right? So they just go based on the title. And I don't blame them. I used to do the same thing. When I read the bill, I felt, it was like a slap in the face. My children attended public school. I'm probably one of the few members of Congress that have their children at a public school. Most of them have them at private schools. I have mine at a private school. So when I read that each school would get only $3,000 to keep our children safe, that was a huge disrespect to the American people, to the parents that wanted their children to be safer. So instead, I introduced a bill called the RGV Act, which actually includes $13 billion in keeping our schools safe. But they refused to put my bill on the floor to vote because it was political for them. That bill that you're talking about, it was just a messaging bill. It has done absolutely nothing to keep our children safe. And we need to do something about it. I refuse that this is the norm and that these shootings will just be the standard. Absolutely not. We cannot accept this. We need to do something about it. I I saw my two daughters 2 days ago. I went into their room and they were praying. And I asked them what they were praying about. And they said they were praying for them because they heard that they were getting threats at school and they wanted to go to school, but they were afraid, and that they were praying that nothing would happen on Monday. So for me, this is personal to me. So I want to go back to Congress, reintroduce the RGV Act, and make sure that these schools get the billions of dollars that they need to keep our children safe, and not these fake messaging bills. And the Marriage Act bill, that's another messaging bill. Same-sex marriage has been legal for a long time. The Supreme Court legalized it, but they created this bill, again, just to message and a way for them to spend millions and millions of dollars on Americans' back. Because if you read the bill, 90% has nothing to do with that. The rest is all pork. And these bills, that's all they're about, pork. Sending money to Ukraine, absolutely not. I will never support that. When we're $35 trillion in debt, we have no business sending money abroad. We have to focus on the American people. The American people are on a budget. It's time that we put Washington on a budget as well. The last time we did a balanced budget in the United States was back in the 90s. We don't have a revenue problem in this country. We have a spending problem in this country. And we need to put Washington on a budget, just like we're on a budget. And just like we pay our bills, we're not paying our neighbors' bills first. We're paying our bills first. Well, Washington, our government needs to pay our bills first and not be paying other people's bills first. I wish we could help everyone, but we're not the police of everyone. We need to prioritize the United States of America. When we strengthen this country, we strengthen those around us. And that's how we're going to be able to continue helping everyone, if we're strong.
I think this word messaging that you brought up is so important, and this is precisely what I was going to ask you about. These laws sound very good. Even reading that, I said, you voted against the Respect for Marriage Act. It sounds so draconian, but people don't understand what really is in those laws because, as you said, people really just look at the names of them. So I support traditional marriage, but I think everyone should live their life however they want. The federal government has no business in our bedrooms and in our lives. Right. I don't want the federal government involved, but it was already legal. Why did they create this bill if it was already legal? So it's a messaging bill. It's fake. It's just a way to make money off of you. Because if you read the bill, 90% of it has nothing to do with that. It's all pork. It's just a way for them to make money and enrich themselves. And I saw that, and I was like, man, before me being a member, I would just read the title of the bill. I really wouldn't read it. And most Americans don't either. I don't blame them. Before I was a member of Congress, I wasn't reading these bills. But I just realized how deceiving they can be, right? And how they can easily manipulate the American people into thinking that they're getting things done, right? When the Safer Communities Act, right? The parents thought, if we pass this bill, our children will be safer. And I was so angry at that because I knew that it wouldn't, because I read the bill. And that's why I wrote my own bill and tried to introduce it. And I encourage everyone to look into it. It's called the RGV Act. And I hope to get back in Congress to reintroduce this bill that will actually get a lot done. I think that we still need to do more because right now, not enough is being done. And I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of these shootings. I'm sick and tired of parents losing children, and I think we're all sick and tired. And I refuse to believe that this is the norm. No, we have to do something about it. What is it that we could do? What was in your bill to make communities safer? You mentioned $13 million. How would that be allocated?
Actually, it was $13 billion.
Good correction.
And I remember, $13 billion. $13 million wouldn't be enough.
So what does this mean? I mean, does this mean more guards at schools? Practically on the ground, Where is this money going to?
Right. It's mainly going to be top law enforcement in every school, but also mental health at the elementary level, at the middle school level, at the high school level, technology, every door to be qualified to prevent these type of evil people to come into the school, and every door at every classroom being top security, where they're able to lock these doors and no one is able to come in. Our doors should be locked. Every classroom should be already locked. And these doors need to be strong and stop anyone from coming in these classrooms. So it's a lot of technology, it's a lot of equipment, a lot of, law enforcement. Every school should have a police officer at every school. And I think that would prevent a lot. But the mental health, we included it as well, because a lot of these issues start very early on, and we want to catch it, right? When they're little, and not when they're already grown up or in high school or graduated out of high school. So this bill includes mental health for children at the elementary level, at the middle school level, and at the high school level. And I think it's a great start. It's not, I think we still have a lot to do, but it's a great start.
On this point of mental health, and I know we're entering our final few minutes because you've got to get back to your campaign in these, 56 days between now and November 5th. But I do want to ask you another question about this, because as we know, there was a recent school shooting in Georgia. And I actually looked at this bipartisan Safer Communities Act on my show, because both Republicans and Democrats tout that as a great accomplishment. And I read it and I just asked on the air, what does this really mean? We hear this idea of more mental health in public schools, and I know that you were just talking about that. But who are these individuals who are trained? Are they going to, incorporate DEI diktats into these schools? I just really wonder how effectually we can make sure that students are getting the mental health resources that they need, when we can see across the board that many people in the public schools, supported by the teachers unions, are, encouraging kids as young as 4 years old to not identify with their gender. In my view, that will worsen the mental health crisis. So what would you do to ensure that this is actually quality, effective mental health?
No, I agree with you. I think this type of mentality, when you're trying to brainwash, children into believing that they're in the wrong sex, yes, absolutely, that only makes things worse. But I think that we can have proper training for our counselors and how to detect these mental health issues. A lot of these problems start very early on, and I think that if we have the proper training, I'm not a counselor, of course, but I think I will leave that to the professionals. But I do think that it's important that they have specialized training in mental health to help these children. But it's important that they don't brainwash our children into believing that they're in the wrong body. Actually, I think that would only make it worse. We need to raise children that are confident and love each other, accept who they are. I mean, I grew up being told to love myself, to love who I am, and we need more of that. No, you're not in the wrong way. You're perfect just as you are, and we need to raise children to be more confident in each other. There's a lot of children who don't have confidence in themselves. We need parents to be more involved in their children's lives. We need fathers to be more present in their children's lives. No matter if you are divorced, it's important that you spend the time, with your children. And I think all that starts really at home. I think us as parents, we also need to step up in getting to know our children's teachers, our children's educators, and making sure that they're getting the right education and that they're not being, instilled values that they don't believe in. It's important that they're involved. We cannot leave everything up to the teachers, and our teachers are there to educate, right? They're not there. They shouldn't be spending hours and hours disciplining our children. And so it's important that parents also are more a part of their children's lives, but that but also it's important, like I mentioned earlier, that these counselors take proper training in being able to see when a child is going through a difficult problem at home or has some type of issue. It's important that they're able to detect it at an early age before it's too late. But that would require proper training from professionals.
Well, Representative Flores, thank you so much for your time today. And we know that the reason it started a little late is that you were talking with the Speaker of the House. So we know you have a lot of busy things on your schedule, and we so appreciate your making the time today and wish you all the best in these next 56 days.
God bless you. Take care.
Thank you. Take care. And before I leave you, I want to quickly tell you about two things that I believe will enhance your life. And the first one is investing in gold. We know right now is an especially economically volatile time. Economists are warning us about massive tax hikes that could hit our IRAs and 401ks hard. With inflation rising and global uncertainty, it's no wonder that central banks and many Americans are turning to gold. If you haven't thought about gold yet, now is the time, and you should consider trusting Priority Gold to help you diversify your savings with gold and silver. Text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD for a free gold information guide and see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Experts agree that physical gold is one of the best ways to fortify your savings. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. Text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD. Text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD. And while you're on your phone, you may want to consider calling 1-800-566-6745 and using the promo code Hartman if, in addition to investing in gold, you'd like to invest in some pillows, some bed sheets, some slippers, bath towels, kitchen towels, and all the other products that MyPillow is offering at a discount to boot. Right now, you can get the queen size premium MyPillow for only $19.98. The MyPillow is made with a patented adjustable fill, and it adjusts to your individual needs regardless of your sleep position. It helps keep your neck aligned and it holds your shape all night so that you can get the sleep that you need. But that's not all. As I said, you can get their 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets for only $25. The brand new mattress topper for as low as $69.98, their famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25, and so much more. Just go to mypillow.com or call 1-800-566-6745 today and use the promo code Hartman to get big discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow for only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay. Order today. Use the promo code Hartman at checkout. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow live at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern for our debate recap. It is sure to be a dramatic event. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. In the meantime, take care.